So, one of the staging elements that was very effective and impactful in the process was the use of costume. Because my importance or my understanding of the importance of costume is that it gives insight into various characters, their position of status and powers, their affiliations with the other characters, and their connections to the overall themes and the atmosphere. And that was researched from a website from KX Tickets in 2024. Above you will see the mood board that I created for my piece, where this idea of 80s and 90s vaporwave came up very, very frequently, which was a reference to Dagny's 80s disco synth style for this debut album that I was using in my piece, but also this idea that love is nostalgic or something reminiscent, like a period of time. So I wanted all of the Love Doctors to resemble this idea of nostalgia. Uh, so I feel like that was effective in giving love a very hopeful gaze rather than something that was very almost deep rooted in sexuality or romance. It was mostly just like looking back on things, which is what happens in the narrative. Um, the color scheme fits Dagny's color scheme of red, pink, blue, white, and black, which she says in a vintage shopping video, which she released in 2024, where this idea of her color scheme matching themes of love, heartbreak, the combination of those two themes, and also using black shoes and white doctor's coats to symbolize this, almost instills this idea that Dagny's aesthetic throughout her career has influenced how I wanted my piece to be told, which helped basically bring in more color symbolic themes into it, making a bit more of an eye catching watch for audiences and it really draws them into the piece. Um, Also, a high note for my piece was the idea of sustainability through vintage and charity shopping because I wanted my piece to have a less resource use and a lower carbon footprint to go in hand with the Theatre Green Book, whilst also allowing people to express their individuality. And this was researched by My Vintage in 2024. There's an interview online with Curious where Dagny discusses her love for vintage shopping, which means that it's a very relevant source and a relevant piece of influence towards my piece when linking back to her as a main artist. So the idea of costume was to allow for my performers to express their type of love and their understanding in their own way, where their personality is taken into account for, where they could wear clothes that were comfortable, that they felt very confident in, and something that they can reuse again in later life. Which almost like symbolizes love as like sometimes we love clothes down the ages and the idea of hand me downs. So I feel like it almost adds another thread to this idea of love that the audience can then perceive from a distance.